Hey, welcome to Speaking Highly with Jon Huck. I am Jon Huck. With me, as always, Indy Fawcett. How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you doing, John?
Good. I'm excellent. I'm just going to say, I think from now on, I'm going to start saying the topic of the show right off the top.
Sure.
Is that cool? So I'm just going to
Yeah, you can redo it if you want.
No. I think people should hear us understanding that this is how we're going to do it from now on.
This is great.
Yeah,
this
is
is podcasting right here.
I feel like, because we are, look, I mean, this is a learning curve. I've been on other podcasts, but this is the first time that I've done something like this with a producer like Indy. So we're doing this in a pandemic. I have all his gear at my house. It's not like I don't have this gear anywhere.
We're on the honor system here on this
We're on
podcast.
the honor system. Yeah, if I wanted to, I could take all this stuff and go to Mexico and start my own podcast company down there.
But then you'd call me and have questions.
I'd be like, hey, man, remember that stuff I stole from you? I need to figure out. That's the truth, too. I'm having some issues with the gear. But, so like I said, we're just trying to figure this out. So if there's stuff like, we were like, oh, like the first episode, I'm looking down a lot. Like, you can comment on it, but we already know.
Nobody remembers episode 1, John.
That's true. Well, this episode 1 of our show was so
put it this way, if
good.
we do an episode a week, we're going to be on episode 50 this time next year. So
boom. And then people
ain't
be
nobody
like,
gonna remember
episode 1.
this. Right.
Good point.
Yeah.
Today's episode is about designated drivers. That's the topic. That's the topic we're going to talk about. Now, I know it sounds kind of like not morbid, but like it's not like a fun, happy topic. I mean, the reason there are designated drivers is because people can't handle their alcohol and they go out and they drink too much and they crash into each other, and a lot of problems occur. But this is a celebration of the people that go above and beyond by, I guess, not by one, being in control of themselves, and two, refraining from alcohol long enough to give their friends a ride home and get everyone home safely. So today's guest is one of my favorite designated drivers that I've ever known, Eddie Pence. And he is a kind of an interesting character because, unlike a lot of designated drivers where they're chosen by their friends before they go out, like, hey, Steve, it's you. You're not going to drink tonight.
This fun is bestowed upon you, sir, tonight.
Right, and they get something. They get something kind of in return. It's like you get, we'll pay for your gas, or we'll do, we'll help you paint your dad's house, or whatever.
It's never
it is.
enough, but it's still.
That's true. It's always like, no, dude, I'll give you a ride to school on Monday. Like, dude, that sucks.
Like,
bro.
I already had one. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea that people take that, like, okay, so if they're chosen, that's one thing, but like a guy like Eddie is never had any alcohol in his life. He's never drank, he doesn't do drugs. So he among his friends in high school, I would imagine, and I'm saying this like, if anyone's horrified, I come from the Midwest. We started drinking when we were like 15 years old. You know what I mean? It was coming from a smaller town, there's not a whole lot to do. Everybody's parents had beers and alcohol. Why not snag some of that and have a little fun? And it resulted in problems for a lot of people, but again, people like Eddie, and in my case, a guy, Paul Kalmuck, was my, still a very good friend of mine, but he, and I have no problem saying that. At first I was like, should I say his full name? And I'm like, why? He did a good thing. He's doing he didn't rob anybody. He's not a murderer.
There's no statute of limitations.
Yeah, right. Like, he was a designated driver back in 1994, but we can't prove it.
Right.
So that kid, Paul Kalmuck, I mean, he always drove, and if you've been around drunk teenagers, drunk college kids, drunk people in general, just the obnoxiousness. Yeah, dude. I mean, when I think about the hell I've put some people who have had to give me rides, like I'm consistently amazed that I still have the friends that I have that have known me for as long as they've known me, I mean, now it's like, oh, I met Jon, he's nice. But if you've had to put up with me for as long as some of these people have, it would be maddening. It would be maddening.
It's interesting. Like, I never thought I never associated myself with being the designated driver, but I always ended up being that guy, into high school, into beginning, into college. Yeah. I was just more into weed. So like my friend group was like, you're driving, right? So it was like, yeah, it was always bestowed upon me because like I always digged weed more than drinking, but like I wanted to drink too. That's what sucked, but
Sure.
like, I was like,
Well,
I'm the weed
also-
guy, I guess.
But also, I like how you're like, you didn't remain sober. You
Right,
still got
yeah.
high. You still got high. You're like, hey, you're the designated driver, so you can only get like this lit up. Okay,
Right.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
That's really funny. But in Eddie's case and Paul's case, they are not even weed smokers. They're not weed guys at all.
Just
so
straight edge, yeah.
Straight. Well, Paul will have a beer, but I don't think
Yeah.
that's his. This is not his jam. Some people just don't give a shit, and
Yeah.
it's just those people. Those are the types of people we're celebrating today. The friends that get you home.
Yep.
When without them, you would have wandered off into the desert or whatever, and
Oh my God.
and
yeah.
never know. And also, I want to point out, I don't know if you guys can see this little zit I
yes.
got going on. I had a little bit of a red. I was like, oh, I think I'm getting a zit, like a little tiny, the littlest. And my wife was like, oh, I have a little something. I'll just put a little patch on it. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I've never. She's, yeah, just put the patch on it and then sleep like that, and then keep it on as long as you can. So I keep it on till like right before we go today, and I take it off. I'm like, oh, cool. It is sucked like every amount of zit in my cheek to the surface, and like just. So that's what that is. I'll try to look like this as much as possible.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Right, John?
Well, the road to Zit Cheek was paved with my wife thinking she could fix it.
The road to Zit Cheek.
I don't know a lot about hell,
That's
but
the
I
next
know that
script.
the road to Zit Cheek is a Bob Hope, Bing Crosby road movie. Really,
man.
some funny kind of. I don't see again, like this is
Yeah.
a topic that I know isn't like a humorous topic, but some interesting, I guess, stuff I found out because I do like a basic internet search for this stuff. I'm not going down a rabbit hole or diving too deep, but I do sort of check it against facts. I'm not trying to give people misinformation or anything like that.
Hey.
And not that this would matter, but the concept, I found this so interesting because when you think about designated drivers and you think about drunk driving, you think about it as being something very mid 80s, like very like
Yep.
in the mid 80s, or at least for me, you're
Well, I definitely, I still, it's kind of before my time that went into my childhood, Mad and all that stuff. Yeah.
Mad started
Yeah.
in 1986, I think it was. Yeah, but the concept of the designated driver, the concept of someone else driving drunk people home,
Yeah.
was kind of developed in 1920 in Scandinavia,
Wow.
which means that they were just the first people who were like, hey, when Henry gets real liquored up, he crashes his car all the time. Eventually, Henry might crash into one of us. It's in our best interest
Right.
to give Henry a ride home of our own accord and then
Right.
make sure he's home safe so he's not driving. Like that's just, I mean, my guess is that's just a evolutionary
Right.
process of thought where you're like, you can see that other people's actions are going to endanger your life eventually. So you're like, hey man, I'll give you a ride because that way
Right.
you're not driving a car.
Yeah, he keeps crashing his car into the water,
I was-
the glacier up in Stockholm.
You're a better man than I for tackling a Scandinavian accent. I wasn't even gonna. I thought about looking it up and like, because if I have an audition and they'll say something
Yeah.
like, I'll go to the internet and I'll be like, and what did I do once? I was looking for trying to do a Swedish accent, and all I kept getting was the Swedish chef from
Yeah.
the Muppets, and I was like, this seems like it'd be a little offensive and over the top if I went in like that.
It's like he doesn't even say words.
No, that was the whole thing was gibberish. I'm like, yeah, they're not
Right.
gonna like that too much.
That's funny.
The
Apologies
designated-
to all the Swedish and the
Yeah, well, dude.
Scandinavians
First of all,
out there.
we're probably going to find that we do have. You know how you get the lists of where your podcast gets listened
yeah,
to.
yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I mean,
We're gonna blow up in
Scandinavia.
Yeah,
I always assume it's like if it's somewhere crazy, I'm like, there's an army base there, and there's somebody. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
military people, a lot of them stationed wherever, podcasts might be their only source of entertainment. You know,
Yep.
so I'm always down when I see stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
interesting to me.
definitely.
The first company to kind of push a designated driver program in Canada was the people who made Canadian Club whiskey.
Really?
So it's like to me it's almost like a way to save your own ass and still
That
make
is
money.
so weird. I never met my grandfather, but my grandfather was the president of marketing for that company.
Canadian Club?
Yeah, Canadian Club.
Holy shit, that's
Yeah.
that's crazy, dude.
I never met. He died in the '60s, like when my dad was like 16 or something.
From cirrhosis or
Yeah, from alcohol, unfortunately. Yeah.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, Canadian Club? That's still a brand. And I'm like,
Dude, it is still a brand.
he just told me recently too. I'm like, what? No wonder I like whiskey. I should
dude,
really
I
stop.
dude, I drank Canadian Club in college. I mean, it's not obviously your grandfather didn't brew it or
He was
anything.
just slanging it around.
It's
y'all.
not delicious. It's not like the best whiskey I've ever had, you know.
Yeah.
It's up there with like Imperial, if you've ever had that, or Kessler, which is
Even an Evan Williams, perhaps.
I think the rule is if you can buy it in a plastic jug, it's disgusting.
Yes. It's for homeless people.
They're like, we don't care about the glass because the glass is just to keep the liquor pure. This isn't. We don't care.
That's not their market share. Right?
No, dude. No. Anything that comes with, like, my dad drank Popov vodka. That came in a plastic
Oh my God,
jug.
Popov! I remember that. That was the
Bottom
high school play.
shelf.
That was the high school play. Bottom shelf. Yep.
That was the high school. Oh, the high school.
You go into Vaughn's and you convince somebody, give me that Popov.
I thought you meant there was a play by like a Russian play. I'm like, Popov, the play? Like, I've never heard of that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, just gross booze. But Canadian Club was like, hey, we need to keep the people that drink our booze alive.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that would be to make sure they get home safe so they could drink it again tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The idea, probably about 1986 was what you were talking about, MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Yeah.
Really, as an organization, I think, again, you're talking moms are some of the most dedicated, loyal people on the planet. And when you take away their kids, they're not going to sit idly by. You know what I mean? It was, it was kind of it was a call. It was a response to just the insanity of people just not giving a shit. I grew up when Wisconsin, I'm from Illinois, and in Wisconsin until I was about 12, 13 years old, Wisconsin, the drinking age was 18. So people could go who were not 21 yet in Illinois would drive up to Wisconsin, get tanked, and then come home. So the accidents at the border, it got so bad that eventually the United States was said to Wisconsin, we're not going to fund any more roads. You're not going to have any more funding for these types of things unless you change, you change what you're doing.
That's insane.
I don't want to say the United States government. I'm sure it was on a local
right.
local
I'm
level,
sure it's
but
just
it was
a humanitarian response.
It was exactly. And MAD, the number I saw that like as of recently, it's estimated that since this drunk driver thing, and look, when MAD started, it kind of garnered the support of Hollywood, and when Hollywood started talking about it, and when actors started doing MAD commercials and rockers against drunk driving and that kind of stuff, when the music industry kind of got involved, and people can laugh and make fun of that, like Vince Neil having to do a Mothers Against Drunk Driving commercial after he'd killed somebody, and then never did any time for it. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of hypocrisy within that program and everything they did, but in the long run, they saved about 400,000 lives.
That's insane, man. That's awesome.
And those aren't. That's just like.
It's just smart. Is what it
is.
is.
Nobody's gonna live forever, but like people should be allowed to achieve their potential. And when you snuff out kids, there's nothing really, in my opinion, worse than that, because you're just taking away everything.
It's terrible.
So the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, again, however you feel about them, they implemented this program that saved about 400,000 lives all total. So we're pretty pumped for that. I got to say that I can guarantee you, if I would have tried driving my car every single time I was hammered, that without the help of guys like Paul or Eddie, there'd be no way we'd be doing a podcast right now. I'd either be in prison or I would be dead, But also, I think because of when I grew up and I could see what was going on, and it was the infant infant stages of that kind of stuff, because people like Sam Kinison were still making jokes. Oh, you want to get a designated driver? You want to take the bus? Fuck that!
Right.
And everyone's like, yeah, I'm a man. I drive my car after I have 18 beers. It's like, dude, not necessary. Not necessary. So today we're going to celebrate designated drivers by talking to, like I said, a designated driver that I met in my adult years. Who has remained my friend, even though I'm sure I've been more than annoying in some of these car rides.
Cool.
But
I'm excited.
We're going to talk to Eddie Pence. So enjoy. Okay, guys. My guest today, Eddie Pence. You probably know him best as co-host of The Ralph Report with Ralph Garman. He's also on The Ramble with Jerry Rocha. He was on a show called Swings and Misses with Cody Decker and Jen Sturger. And if I'm not, I think that's it. Or is there?
Right now,
these are podcasts, by the way. I'm
yes.
naming. So this is like I just opened a podcast directory and then I just start reading them, and it turns out Eddie's involved in every single one. I give you a lot of shit, but I'm always happy to see you working and doing what you like doing, because I know that we both went through a slow point, or a slow
several slow points,
several downturns in our careers, if you will, and just this kind of I feel like Ralph especially kind of lit a fire, under your ass and got you kind of motivated, and now you're...
Yeah, Ralph helped out a lot. He got me a lot of exposure within his circle of fans, and it really kind of did a lot of the heavy lifting that I had been trying to do for years. Because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to build that fan as a comedian. It's hard to build that like loyal fan base. That's like that, and that's our lifeblood as comedians, is to have those people that support you, and it's a hard thing to do, and usually you get it by, featuring for a headliner, and then those headliners' fans become your fans.
Yeah.
So it's a lot in that way, because podcasting's basically taken over for stand-up comedy at this point. So now it's like you have to join someone else's podcast and grab their listeners, and then you create your own stuff. So it's kind of similar in a way.
Yeah, because for people that don't know, and I want to put up a link if this is still on. I mean, you have been at it as longer than I have, really. I mean, at least by a year, So that's it's a crazy long time. When it took 22 years at this point,
Yeah, 98 I started, early 98.
I mean, I got here in 99. I started to late 2000,
But like with starting, we were dicking around for 2 or 3 years. I mean, we didn't take it serious for a while.
I just wanted to meet girls, tell fart jokes, and get hammered. That's literally all I wanted to do. I did not give a shit. But like I said, and with that support from those people, from those fans, when you did you did like a GoFundMe to help fund a special, or an Indiegogo.
Indiegogo,
yeah. And dude, that special is now on Amazon Prime. It's called The Unspecial.
Yeah, The Unspecial Comedy Special.
The Unspecial Comedy Special. It's on Amazon Prime. If you have Prime, you can watch it. But I mean that the amount of support you could see pouring in online for people that not just wanted you to do it, but were going to buy it when it came out.
I was still blown. Like I said, I think we talked about this before. It was on your previous podcast when you did the other one.
My many podcasts.
But we talked about I was hoping to raise maybe $5,000. Just on a whim,
and do shoestring budget and just shoot it.
I was going to do it at Stage 2 at the Ice House here in Pasadena on 2 iPhones if I had to. I just wanted to do it, and then I was able. Like I said, those people are crazy loyal and super supportive. And I started raising $5,000. I raised $15,000, and I was able to do it the way I wanted to do it. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And like I said, it's out. It looks great. You know what I mean? It's very funny. But let's kind of get to. We met doing comedy. We met doing stand-up.
Yes.
But we turned out to be neighbors, sort of happenstance, just because. And I don't remember the first time we went somewhere together, but I do remember you calling me and saying, "Hey man, if you want, I can give you a ride so you can have some beers or whatever." And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
I like this guy.
Yeah, I like this, having a neighbor. And then I think I knew this about you already, but you'd never been a boozer, you know.
No, yeah, I don't
and
drink.
not even a casual. You're not even like, I'll have a beer on a hot day. Like, you've had one shot of tequila in your whole life, and that was it.
Yeah, because someone bought it for me while I was on stage,
and
I forgot
didn't know how to say
I forgot
no.
to tell the bartender, don't serve me alcohol on stage.
Which is something, if anyone doesn't know, it's a kind of a comedian's trick. Because this used to happen to me. I would do so many jokes about drinking and drugs and everything that people would immediately assume I wanted to be blacked out at every second of my life. So I'll be up on stage and like, I remember one show I did like a shot of whiskey, a shot of gin, a shot of tequila, like nothing that meshed. And by the end of it, I was like, dude, I'm never doing this again. And then when I got to Madison, the bartender there at the Comedy on State was like, hey man, if you want me to Coke, so I'm like, yes. If somebody tries to order me a shot of whiskey, put Coke in a glass. If someone, like, it takes you out of the moment. It's not good for comedy. It's not funny.
I was in El Paso, and I was featuring for Ian Bagg, and I had gotten to most of my set. And I don't talk about drinking in my act or anything like that because I don't drink. But for some reason, I was doing really well, and just sometimes the audience will do that for a comic if they're really enjoying it.
It's like a tip.
And so they sent me up a shot of tequila, and I usually tell the bartender before sets, hey, just put Coke in there or whatever, and I forgot. And luckily, this shot came up at the end of the set, and you can't not take the shot because the whole room is like,
oh yeah, it's the pressure of that. Because a normal person would go, yeah, you don't want it, fucking don't drink it. But like, there's however many people came out to see Ian that night. I'm assuming a lot of people. Ian's a fairly popular comic. You get those people like, come on, dude.
Yeah, and again, like we said a minute ago, you're trying to get these fans of this headliner to be your fans, so
and
you don't want
the last thing they remember to be like, nah, he was funny. I don't remember. He just didn't do a shot of tequila at the end.
So I'm like, fuck it, I'll just do the shot. And I did it. And at the time, I was on a lot of antidepressants.
Oh, fuck.
So, like, those two things just, like, smacked me in the face. And I started getting, like, woozy on the last 5 minutes of the set. Like, I basically just stumbled through my closer and then went and laid in the green room until the second show.
Good God, dude. And you did a second show, okay?
Yeah. The second show, I was just, after I laid down for, like, 20 minutes, I was fine.
Yeah,
but
because it works through. It was just one... I mean, the comedy of that is hilarious just because, like, one shot of tequila and you're like, I got to take a nap.
I was like, let's learn my words.
Yeah, and back then I would have been like, okay, you giant puss. But now I had like one glass of wine last night and I was like asleep in like 5 minutes. So I was like, good night. Like, I can't.
Which is crazy because like the entire time I've known you, you've been like the drinking guy, the guy that I know that drinks.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're one of the few people that I ever like. I've been around tons of, like I said, I've always been sober, so I've been a DD for everybody from high school to college, all the way through and you were one of the few fun drunks I've ever been around.
That was what I was going to say. Is like, but I'm sure first of all, thank you, because that makes me feel better. Because when I look back, I know that there are people that would be like, yeah, no, dude, you're not fun at all, bro. You are not fun at all. But
I mean, you'd always said you'd hit a point where you weren't. But for the most part, in general, I would say 85 to 90% of the time I was around you drunk, you were a fun drunk.
All right. Okay. I'll take it. Because there are some people that there's 0%.
No, some people are 0. Most time it's 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah. So you like, and this is because you're from Virginia, right? So smaller town in Virginia.
When I not now, but when I was going to high school, it's kind of small.
Okay. So
suburb of DC.
So similar to why I have suburbs of Chicago, but smaller town. So you your friends, their dads drink, your dad drank, like our dads drink, you kind of think it's what people do. Kids start drinking 14, 15 years old, right? Yeah. So then people start getting their license and it becomes something where you're not just drinking beers in the woods by some big rock or a lake or whatever.
We had a dead end. We had a dead end.
Oh, see, dude, we had a dead end that like went into the woods that like went back into this thing that was a rock I threw up on about 3,000 times. But
and then some of the people I went to high school with stayed at the dead end.
Dude, and that is where it gets sad. But so we're not going to get into that. but what was I mean, I can't ask you to remember this, but like the first time you can remember like multiple friends of yours being like, we are going to get lit up tonight and then you actually being like, if I don't drive these people home, they're all gonna die?
Oh, there was. I mean, probably I didn't really go out a lot until I was probably a senior in high school. Like I was kind of a nerd. I'm not a nerd, but I was just a homebody. I didn't
You
really
liked music, video games, and comic books, and you didn't have to leave to find them.
Right. And then my senior year, I started getting more friends, and like that's when people were like, "Hey, let's go out." So I'd go out, and we'd go out after football games or whatever. And then there was one time where I drove I had a 1990 Ford Mustang. It's a hatchback. You could put. Well, I still have.
Yes.
I don't drive it anymore because it sits in my garage broken.
But dude, a 94 Ford Mustang.
1990 Ford Mustang.
Yeah, what I said 94. Oh, but I meant 19.
Oh, no, 19. It's a classic now.
Yes.
If it ran. And you can put 4 people in there semi-comfortably, and that's it. It's not a comfortable car. And I would drive people around. I would put 2 people in the front seat, in the passenger seat. I would put 3 to 4 people, depending on the size of the people, in the back seat. And then we would cram 2 people into the hatchback and shut the hatchback down.
So just a giant walking illegal traffic violation waiting to happen.
Honestly, if we got in an accident, there was no movement in the car, so it probably would have saved everybody's life.
Who would have just been like, it's so dense, like, is everyone okay? Yeah, weird, man.
It would have been like in Demolition Man when the car fills with foam. And Sylvester Stallone, when he got into an accident, the car filled with foam, and you don't move.
Impressive, dude. We're not that many episodes in, and that's our first Demolition Man reference. Very well done, dude. Very well done. Yeah, dude. So, I mean, high school, how did you I guess think about how annoying, when I, and this isn't a dig or whatever, but when I look at like high school kids today, they annoy me just by being kids.
Yeah.
So now when I think about me being probably 8 times that annoying and adding, I was always loud. My mom could hear me she was like, God damn, dude, like our grade school was across the street from our house. I remember I'd come home and she'd be like, I can hear you at recess. And I'd be like, oh, well, we're outside. She's like, but I'm in the house literally 5 football fields away. I shouldn't be able to hear you. I'm like, what? So I've always been loud, and then of course anybody who you add alcohol to anybody, they become louder. So when you have an already loud person, I just like, was there a point where you were like, I'm done with you idiots, I'm not doing this anymore? Or was it always sort of a way for you to kind of go out anyway and just sort of laugh at people?
It was always a way to go out and laugh, but it's weird. I always, in high school and college, I had this one guy who was he was very similar to you in the fact that he was always a fun drunk. And that's who I would hang out with. And then when I moved here and I sort of found you and you were that dry, you're like, oh my God. And we called this guy, his name was Tim, and we called him Bundy because he was 18 and looked like Al Bundy. Like he looked like he had like
honestly, better than looking like Ted Bundy.
Very true. But But he had he was 18 and he had a comb over. Like he looked like he was a 45. He looked like George Blanda from that video from the Washington game the other day. Like he looked like you looked at me like there's no way you're 18.
That's a shame though.
But
that's a shame.
I know. So we called him Bundy and because he looked like Al Bundy but he was like a fun drunk and I would have such a good time hanging out with him when he was drunk. Everyone else was super annoying, but I could survive because I picked that one dude who was a fun drunk. The same way with you, like when we would go out, you were a fun drunk, and I would have such a good time laughing with you.
Because we could make fun of everyone else.
Right, I could deal with all the other annoying people because I had the fun drunk guy.
Well, I guess we should do a whole show on me and how awesome I am at drinking.
You are awesome at drinking, but it's... But it was just that's how I was able to tolerate drunk people. Is I would find that one person who was a fun drunk, not the guy who was just constantly looking for girls when he was drunk, or the guy that was trying to start fights when he was drunk, but the guy who was just wanted to have fun and joke around. And I would find that dude, and that's how I tolerated drunk people.
That is an interesting. Those 2 things you just mentioned before, that there was always the guys who they're just pussy hounds. They just wanted to hit on chicks, and like. I remember just thinking, like, even back in like high school, I'd be like, man, it's got to be annoying to be a female.
Yeah.
Like,
These guys are constantly after you.
if you're just like, because I was just going out for fun because I knew deep down chicks didn't dig me, and all I had was be the funny guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like, gotta be the funny guy. And of course that gives way to, Jesus, nobody likes me unless I'm doing this. And then it becomes an issue. And then you're like, fuck, I need to fix things. And then you eventually do. But
Yeah.
but to be a female, even like I said, high school, college, like you're just like, hey, like when I think like, if I were to say to you, hey man, let's go out tonight, let's go to the store, let's go to the fucking Improv, whatever, we would go out, we don't, that's it. We just go out. We don't have to worry about, and this is like if we were single or whatever, but we're better looking, whatever you want to say. But like I never had to worry about like just being harassed by a woman all night and who wouldn't leave me alone because she'd had fucking 3 beers. I was just like, ugh, no.
But like we had that group of friends that would get drunk and they had the agenda of going out and trying to hook up. Whereas like my group of friends, I was friends with the other guys too, but like my core group of friends, like four or five good buddies, we just wanted to go and have a good time.
Yeah. Let's steal all the forks and put them in the bathtub.
Yeah. Like one time with college, like my roommates and they all were booze hounds and they would get drunk or whatever. But like we would just go to the other parties and we would just laugh. And like one time we stole a keg out of a apartment party.
You love it.
And like we're in the party, it's packed, it's shoulder to shoulder. We're in this apartment, and it's a 2-bedroom apartment on a college campus, and there's probably 400 people in this apartment. And they kept the second keg in the bathtub, packed in ice. Yeah. And so my buddy comes out, my fun drunk buddy. He's like, "Hey, the other keg's in the bathtub. You want to take it?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, let's do that." Because that sounds like the fun thing to do right now.
Not because you wanted it, because you're like, man, would this be annoying for everyone here?
Right. and the party was just filled with a bunch of like college douchebag like frat guys, and you're just
they didn't need another keg.
They didn't need another keg. They didn't care. So we went in, and we literally went in, and there was like 5 of us, and we formed a circle, and we just stood, and we put the keg in the middle of us, and we all
shuffled out.
And this circle of 5 guys walked through this party with the keg between us. And then we got back to our apartment. We had this full keg, and there's like 5 guys, and one of them doesn't drink. So there's like this full keg with 4 dudes and no tap.
I was just gonna say, let me guess, you didn't have a tapper.
Nope.
That would be like having like you're starving, and all you have is a can of tuna and no can of, you're like, oh. That we had when I was in high school. Do you remember the party ball?
Yeah.
So Indy wouldn't remember this. Indy, by the way, just so you know, he was born in 1993. So if you want to chuck batteries at him or whatever on your way out.
All the stories I just told you were before 1993.
Of course. Dude, everything I say, he's like, oh, cool. Is that before or after you got your fake hip? But like, shit, I forgot what I was going to say.
Party ball.
Party ball. Thank you. Before Indy was born.
This is what a DD does. He tells people what's happening.
That's also, dude, hey man, what did I do last night? Well, here's what you said. Here's who you insulted. Here's who you need to apologize to. That is good. You're a record keeper.
No, I'm highly trained.
Events.
Highly trained DD.
Dude, perfect. And you're not a dope smoker, so your memory is like,
I remember everything.
Indy was trying to say, I was a designated driver in high school because I was the weed guy. I'm like, that's not being a sober designated driver, though. There's a difference. But so the party ball comes out, and it's like this amazing. It's not a keg.
Yeah.
It's much smaller than a keg, but it's like this is before the 30 pack. So It was like a big deal. You could get one of these, and like 15, 25 people could get hammered on it in high school. The first one we ever got, we couldn't figure out how to tap it. Couldn't figure out how to work it, so my buddy just cut the top off, and we were dipping our cups into
like
it.
Like a ladle of beer.
Like a ladle. We just dipping plastic cups in, and I was like talking to girls like, hey, want to get you out there? I'll get you a cup. Like it was, hey, look what we got.
Check out our beer cauldron, ladies.
Dude, disgusting. Just a teenage hand. Just multiple teenage hands going into the...
And dirty cups, just...
Oh, dude, nothing was clean. We were in like somebody's basement of a house that everyone had just moved out of, so we're like, this is filthy.
That's why we had immune systems back then.
But that's why, that's how I'm staying safe right now. It's because I used to drink hand beers from... fucking party balls.
Well, it's like watching kids and doing those college parties playing beer pong, and that fucking beer pong ball would hit the ground.
Rolls under the fridge, and they pull it out, and then just keep playing. And then it lands in your cup, and you get to drink the cup. Like we had quarters, dude. We played...
Yeah, quarters. Yeah.
No, we had this bar. It was called the Airport Inn in college, and they had a period of time on Friday nights from 4 to 6 p.m. that they called the Flight. And at the Flight, it was 25-cent Pabst 8-ounce beers. 25-cent Pabst 8-ounce beers. So
that should be illegal.
With 4 quarters, you could get 4 8-ounce beers. But if you had a full beer and someone dropped a quarter into your beer, you had to slam the beer and then get another one with that quarter right away. So people like, if you've ever touched a quarter, you are the millionth person to have touched that quarter.
Yeah.
And it goes into and I guess everyone's like, alcohol kills all the germs, but I'm like, knowing what I know now, and if I would see that going on in public, I would probably throw up. But in college, I'm like holding quarters in my teeth, like, like just a fucking idiot.
Well, and quarters are kept in your pocket with everything.
Dude, my buddy was counting money. He put a 20 in his mouth to keep. I go, take that 20 out of you. He goes, oh my God, you're right. I'm like, first of all, you got cocaine all over your lip now. Second of all, like,
didn't you do a study like dollar bills have like so much fecal matter on them?
First of all, like every $100 bill has so much cocaine on it. Every dollar bill has like 4 times that amount of cocaine on it. And yes, fecal matter on money is huge. Fecal matter is everywhere. Basically, just know that if you're walking around in the United States, you're going through a cloud of poo, no matter what you're doing.
Well, if you flush your toilet, there is a cloud of poo shooting up in your face.
People who leave their toilet seat up, flush the toilet.
No, you're getting a mushroom cloud of fecal matter.
That's all you're doing. And if you're over it while you do it, what are you doing?
Is that going down? Is that going down? Okay,
shit into your own eyes next time. Just fucking. What are you doing? Hygiene with Jon and Eddie, but I want to talk about just a couple other times that we, because there were basic times in like LA, you would drive out we go to the store or whatever, like not far away. And it was like, I'd only have a couple beers, but I can't remember. I feel like I've always had this love of minor league baseball, but I think that you were the one who said, oh yeah, you like minor league baseball. We go to games and they have, and this is how you pitched it to me. Like it was you, your wife and your kid. And I think, to be honest, it was probably like, oh man, Jon, you'd love this. Plus, if you can go, then you're also you're not just my wife and my kid. There's other people,
I have other people to talk to.
Which I completely, and this isn't a dig on your wife or your kid. It's just, I understand that when you're just surrounded by the same people all the time, constantly. Right. Nice to have another guy there.
Well, I
Plus,
think
I get along with your family,
I think our first, because I think we were hanging out at one time and I was like, hey, I go to these minor league games. There's like 4 in our area within an hour drive. And you're like, oh, cool. And then I know you kept a couple times. You're like, hey, let's go. And it was right when Tracy was pregnant, so I couldn't get away a lot. And then finally, the one night, I'm like, hey, let's go. I think we went up to Lancaster for our first.
So that was just me and
minor
you
league.
For the
That
Jet
was just
Hawks.
me and you. We went on a mandate to Lancaster.
Caught my first foul ball. It bounced, but I caught my first foul ball.
We were 2 of 80 people in the stadium.
Dude,
so
it
wasn't a hard get.
I'm telling you, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, if you like baseball, like I personally, I'm realizing slowly that it's, people say I'm a baseball junkie. I'm a baseball junkie, and I was always like, yeah, I like it, but I really do. Like I could watch multiple games in a day of teams that I have no dog in the fight. You know what I mean?
That's impressive.
Like I remember I saw Carl DiGregorio at a comedy show. Carl is hilarious, but it was the first day of spring training when they were showing games on TV. Yeah. So Carl was like, so spring training had just started. It was the 2017 season. And Carl was like, you must be still riding off the Cubs World Series. And I was like, yeah, man, I love baseball. And he goes, yeah, man. I mean, he goes, didn't spring training just start? I go, yeah, dude. He goes, yeah, man. I go, yeah. Or no, I go, spring training started today. He goes, oh man, me and you, we watch baseball different. Because I goes, I don't watch any games until the playoffs. I go, dude, I watched 4 games today. He's like, dude, that's psychotic. Like people just don't give a shit, But I could watch, and again, that's why minor league to me is like, those guys are trying to make the pros. Like I want to see these guys. They hustle. It's fun baseball. And like you said, there's nobody there. Tickets were very inexpensive. And beers, we went on a Thursdays.
Thursdays.
Dollar beers, dollar hot dogs. And I got lit up. And I think we ate Sonic on the way home. And like, I got fucking hammered.
Yeah, you did.
But it was a lot of fun to the point where then I did go back with you multiple times. Every time we'd go, we'd buy hats. And like we went to the Bakersfield Blaze, which they're RIP, they're no longer there.
I know.
They wanted because they were playing on rocks, dude. Their baseball field was
there was
terrible.
little league fields that are better, like thousands of times better than what they played
so
on.
bad, and all they wanted was new facilities. And Bakersfield was like, "We're a metropolis, no," and they were like, "Fuck off," and they left. But the Bakersfield Blaze, I'll wear that hat on the show eventually. The hat is beautiful. The hat was, it looked like it looked like a butterfly.
Yeah,
It looked like butterfly.
it was
wings.
two bees back to back.
It was two bees back to back. They looked like butterfly wings with like an explosion in the middle that looked like a pot leaf.
Yeah.
So it literally looks like a butterfly with a dope leaf over it. And I saw that hat and I was like, someone pulled the wool over somebody's eyes.
They
It
did.
was like,
I got that story from my buddy Cody Decker, and that's what exactly they were looking for a logo. They had a contest. One guy submitted it as a joke. They picked it and they went with it for years.
dude, it's a great logo.
Yeah.
It's a great logo, but it literally looks like it was made
It's
at
a
the parking
pot
lot of a Grateful Dead show. It's
a
like
pot leaf.
Yeah, dude. But though we went, I got the hat and I bought, because the shirts, the jerseys just say Blaze on them.
Well, they sell
great.
game worn jerseys there for like $50. They're like throwing them at you.
So I buy a game worn jersey, number 36, Bakersfield Blaze. I put the jersey on. I get the hat on. We go to our seats. We're literally right behind home plate.
You're in the dugout, basically.
Eddie looks over and goes, "You know they're not going to let you play, right?" I go, "First of all, you don't know that. This is minor league ball, man. Somebody could get injured. They could be looking around. Like if no one's ever heard this story, years and years and years ago, when Keith Moon was still alive, the Who was getting ready to play a fucking concert, right? Keith Moon is hopped up on horse tranquilizers. He falls off his drum chair stool. Can't play the drums. They drag him off the stage. Half jokingly, Roger Daltrey is like, "Hey, can anybody play the drums?" And a fucking guy goes, "Yeah." And a dude gets out of the audience and plays drums with the Who.
There you go.
On stage at a concert he just paid to go to. So don't tell me
Right.
I can't get into that game and throw a shutout,
No.
play first base,
And we all know minor league baseball, half the battle is just being in uniform.
showing up, being dressed. That's it.
That increases
What
your chances
else is
80%
there,
to get into
dude?
the game.
But honestly, it really did spark, like, just those games. It's so fun. I still love baseball, obviously, and we haven't been in a while, but we should go back because those games, we've been to Jethawks, 66ers,
Quakes.
Rancho
Cucamonga
Quakes, the Bakersfield Blaze, and these aren't necessarily close. Like for the Bakersfield is like 100 miles away
100
from
miles.
LA. Yeah,
On the nose, it's 100 miles.
yeah, so we went out and back the same day just to watch like baseball, but that was so fun. And then we found we have a lot of similar tastes in music.
Yeah.
There's obviously some stuff I love that you would not love, but also when it gets to like, I think it's just an age thing. You get to a point in middle school and high school where like rock and roll is what you care about. So
Yeah.
for me, it was like, when I found Van Halen in 4th grade, and then Guns N' Roses in 6th grade, and then, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Twisted
Yep.
Sister, I mean, the list is really endless about that kind of music and how it influenced me. But we both have a love of Motley Crue and Iron Maiden, especially.
Heavy metal, yeah. We're both metalheads.
Heavy metalheads, yeah, sure. So I think I can't remember what I did. I pitched it to you. I was like, "Hey, Iron Maiden is playing the Inland Empire." I
remember we talked about on our first minor league baseball game excursion to Bakersfield. We were talking about, like, I was like, yeah, the reason my name is Edwin, but I go by Eddie because of Eddie from Iron Maiden. Because as a kid growing up, I was a metalhead. Like, I want to go by Eddie.
right.
And you were like, "Oh, I love Iron Maiden." And we were like, "Oh," and that's how we both learned that we loved Iron Maiden.
And again, this is like something like that stayed in my head, so that when I saw that they were coming, I was like, "Dude, Eddie likes Iron Maiden, and Eddie doesn't drink. So if I want to get to the Inland Empire and get back
better
in one
to
piece,
ask?
Eddie would be the perfect guy because he wouldn't be annoyed at the music, So we went out there, and I think I did this to a couple people in the past, but like I'll buy a 12-pack, and I'll bring it with me, and I'll drink it in the car on the way there.
Before you get there,
Before we get there, it's like, well, it's like a pregame because
yeah.
beers there are so expensive, and then I end up
Right.
buying 14 beers there anyway because I'm so blacked out from the 12-pack. I have no idea what I'm doing with my money.
But you would have bought 24 had you been there and not drank.
So you're right. Look at all the money I saved, I think is
Right.
what we're getting at. But we went out to Iron Maiden. I got hammered, and that show was so funny. They came out. We were in the lawn. I think we missed Anthrax, right?
Yeah, we missed Anthrax because you're in this field in San Bernardino, and
massive.
the drive to get in was so backed up.
And it was backed up, and then the walk in, it was like everything was just so far away.
Yeah.
But I do remember before I went to that show, I was talking to my mom, and I don't know how she has this memory, or if she has this memory, or she just kind of tossed it out there. But in 1992, I saw Anthrax and Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
At the Rosemont Horizon in Illinois. It was cold. I went in without a jacket. We had a great time. I was like young, 15, 16 years old, you know? And there was these two like 45-year-old guys in front of us who were trying to talk to these women. And they were like, yeah, we're going to get backstage. We were laughing at them all day, all night. And then one of them finally threw up all over the chicks. And we were just dying. It was me and my friend Mike Ortiz. We were laughing so hard. Andy Kalman. There's a bunch of people there. But anyway, I remember telling my mom, she was like, how was the show? I go, oh my God, you should have seen this drunk asshole throw up all over these chicks, whatever, you know, fucking some 40-year-old dick at a fucking Iron Maiden show. Then I tell my mom, me and you are going Iron Maiden and Anthrax. And she's like, so you're going to a show to be the old man that you used to make fun of at the show?
Yep.
And I was like, well, since you put it that way, yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. And we got there. We finally got in. Like I said, we missed Anthrax. Iron Maiden comes on, and I think he even announced right away, we're going to play our
the
new
one thing
album.
you don't want to hear at an Iron Maiden concert.
Well, I think people will say it's the one thing you don't want to hear at any concert is here's
That's
our
true.
new album. Now,
Yeah.
the Grateful Dead was different. If they premiered a new song and you'd never heard it, that is crazy. And it's the buzz in the crowd is
Right.
fantastic. I was kind of pumped because I've heard Live After Death.
Yeah.
I've heard there's so much stuff. And this at that show was probably the third or fourth time I'd seen Iron Maiden live, you know? So I thought the new stuff was pretty good. And then they did like
good
Running
stuff.
Free. They did stuff at the end. Number
They
of the
did like
Beast.
3 or
They
4
did-
good like hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as soon as that show started, we were in the lawn. Everyone stands
We were
up.
way back because we're
way
old,
back.
so we got as far back from the mosh pit as possible.
That's another thing is I like having my back against the exit so I can just turn and walk out when things go haywire.
Right.
Because everybody, if you've ever been to a show that has a big lawn, it can get wild, right?
Yeah.
Everyone stood up. All the guys took their shirts off, set them on fire, and then started dancing around small fires that everyone was
It's
making.
like Lord of the Flies in the back of this concert.
But it felt like an immediate Iron Maiden, just take the shirt off. Let's fucking. It was like they couldn't burn things fast
then they
enough.
started burning their plastic cups.
Oh, it
from the
smelled.
beer.
It stank. I just remember thinking dude, whoever sells T-shirts in the parking lot is going to clean up tonight because no one's got a shirt to wear home.
And that was the first concert. That was the first time I went out with you where you were drunk, where we stopped at a fast food place afterwards.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
I finally saw how much fast food you order at one time. We pulled up to a Carl's Jr. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I think I ordered like a number 1 or 2 or whatever it was, just the burger and the fries and the drink.
You're like a normal
And I'm
combo
what
for a
do you
human
want?
mouth.
And literally 30 minutes later, you rattle off the end of your order.
That's fair.
I mean, I've never seen like you ate like a double burger with there was chicken strips involved, and then I think like 2 tacos because we were at Jack in the Box. It was such a buffet of food.
If it was Jack in the Box, then there were.
It was
definitely
Carl's
tacos.
Jr.
It was
Jack in
Carl's
the Box.
Jr. Okay, I think it was
one of
probably
the two.
Carl's. Yeah, Jack in the Box is a different beast. I can go to town on Jack in the Box even more so. I can't go to Carl's Jr. anymore because of nights like that. And I don't want you to think. I know you looked at me as probably like a superhuman. But
Yeah, it was
you should
amazing.
know that those next mornings are.
You had to
I mean,
shed your old skin.
Dude, I'm waiting for Ken Burns to want to do a documentary on some of those dumps I took. Dude, they were epic. Dude, epic.
It's amazing apartment plumbing could handle those dumps.
Dude, how about it? I mean, a couple times it couldn't, but we're not here to talk about shoddy plumbing. But none of this deterred you from hanging out with me. You didn't
I thought
see me eat all
like
that
I
food
said,
and go, never again.
People that made me laugh when they were drunk were the people I would hang out with, and that stuff would make me laugh. Like the amount of Taco Bell you could order at a Taco Bell drive-thru at 2 a.m. made me laugh so hard. And the 2 grocery bags full of Taco Bell that the guy would hand you in the drive-thru, it was worth the night of hanging around drunk people to experience that.
A plus, I mean, how many times didn't TB on me? I mean, I must have,
And
I
you
must have paid. I paid. I mean,
No, considering what my contribution to the total order was, it was
99 cents.
I would get 3 soft tacos and a Dr. Pepper.
$1.50, yeah.
And then you had the rest of the menu 2 times over.
$64.75, sir. Thank you. Would you what? I waited. Me and Nicole were talking about this. I ordered Taco Bell once. It was me and her in the car, and we placed an order. And they should have just had us pull to the parking lot. It was a 25-minute wait for them to put all the food together. And Taco Bell is like the Jim Gaffigan joke of like it's all the same 5 ingredients is real. I mean, it's beans, cheese, meat, whatever. It's like
it's
the
just
same
folded
shit.
different. That's all.
Folded different. Sometimes it's crusty. Sometimes it's soft. That's literally it. And the 25 minutes, I'm like looking at the cars behind me, and they're like looking to see how many people are in the car. Like, oh, they must be going to a fucking house party. And can I tell you the grossest ordering Taco Bell story? It has nothing to do with me. My buddy Tim, who you know, my first roommate out in LA, moved out. We went to college together. He got a job. We lived around the corner from that Taco Bell on over on Hollywood. Where it used to be kind of by Jumbo's Clown Room or on the way to Jumbo's Clown Room.
Yeah.
He went to Taco Bell one day. He comes back. We used to get these 10 tacos, like a 10 for 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
So he would get 10, I would get 10, and we would then both clog the toilet. But he comes back and he's like, he looks sad. He's holding Taco Bell and I'm like, dude, you shouldn't look sad, man. You got all that Taco Bell in your hands. What's up, bro? And he was like, dude, this girl, I saw a girl I know at Taco Bell, and I thought it was going to be a story about him being embarrassed for getting 10 tacos.
Yeah.
He goes, I let her go, and I was going to let her go in front of me. She goes, no. You go first. I'm here getting craft service for a film shoot. She orders $200 or $150 worth of Taco Bell. Okay. So again, like what you said, like 2 grocery bags was $30. Like think about $150. It turns out as they're talking, she's the production assistant on a porno movie.
Oh.
She's taking that food back to set so they can have a catered meal before they get back to shooting. So that somewhere there was a porn crew that ate $150 worth of Taco Bell and then was like, all right, let's get fucking. And I'm like, it didn't stop me from eating my 10 tacos.
Oh,
but
no.
Like, I was pretty sad as I was like on taco 5.
That's awful. That sounds terrible.
I'm going to eat these on the toilet if you don't mind. Oh, and I think I want to talk about this because I want to promote this band as well. But like I don't know how I found this or who pointed it out to me, but I found this. Honestly, I don't know where I heard of them, but there is a all-female tribute band called the Iron Maidens.
Yes.
They play Iron Maiden songs. The guitar players there have been multiple guitar players in and out of the band. There's currently 2 that are phenomenal. Courtney Cox, not the actress, and then Nikki Stringfield, I think is her name. And then Nina Strauss, who plays with Alice Cooper now, used to be in the band. When we were seeing it,
we would see her live.
It was Nita and Courtney Cox were playing guitar. But it's an all-female tribute band. They play Iron Maiden songs, and they don't just like play Iron, they shred. Like these women are now, Nita Strauss has an Ibanez guitar named after her. Courtney Cox, I think, has an Ibanez guitar. Like these women have not just, they play Iron Maiden songs that Iron Maiden doesn't even play live.
Yeah.
And they have met Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden has come to see them. They have toured the world in this band. And I can't remember for the life of me how I found them, but I highly recommend if you are an Iron Maiden fan or a fan of that genre of music, we went a couple times, saw them with other bands who were tribute acts as well. I mean, it's just it's so fun to me. But the first
we would literally go every time we knew where they were playing. We would find out where they were playing and we would go.
Because it was like Paladinos in Tarzana.
Yeah.
Or, they were supposed to play the Whiskey before this all happened. And
we saw them at the Whiskey once.
We did. We saw them at the Whiskey. We've seen them at I've seen some of them at the Key Club, but they were playing with another band. And then Palladino's like 3 times, I think.
Well, that's sort of their home club, I think.
Yeah, when they're here, yeah, they do San Diego. Oh, we went down to Newport Beach. I
We
think.
did go to Newport Beach.
Yeah, didn't we take Irwin down
We
there?
did.
Brian
We
Irwin.
took
Yeah.
Irwin.
A guy who has no Iron Maiden experience. It's like,
Just sat there with his arms crossed the whole. Like, what is this?
oh, look at this guy. He's hammered. Yeah, dude, come on.
I could be asleep right now.
But those shows were always so fun. My God, sorry about that. Those shows were always so fun. And again, for the most part, like, I think the last couple we went to, I either drove myself or whatever. But
Yeah,
I
you've been like the last few years you've not been the drinker that you were,
well,
and which was a good thing.
dude,
And
yeah.
you've been driving me a lot, or at least
Right.
you were before all this happened. Yeah,
Right, but only just because I like feel like I owe you 1,000 rides. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those kind of deals. And I know you didn't do that going. Someday you're going to pay for these.
someday I'll never have to drive again.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think June 4th, 2019, June 3rd, 2019, I went to a Dead and Company show at the Hollywood Bowl, and for whatever reason, went from a couple of beers at the bar before to
Yeah.
a couple of beers on the way in to 5 beers inside to 2 bottles of wine to 5 more beers.
2 bottles of wine.
I was like in line for beer, and I was like, "Well, the bottles of wine, you could get more than that." And actually, you know what? I only bought one. I only bought 1 bottle of wine, but it was a gross amount of booze. And the next day, I woke up and I was like, "I don't think I ever want to do that again." And it was just a conscious decision to take a break, and it really has lasted until now. I mean, every once in a while when I'm home, I'll have like a cocktail. Like I had a glass, like I said, I had a glass of wine last night.
But you're not like heavy drinking like you were.
Can't, dude. Can't. Literally, we bought spiked eggnog for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I have a glass of that, and I'm like, good night. And it just makes me so tired, and I have no desire. Like, I mean, on the road was really bad, just drinking in the hotel rooms after shows, there's nothing to do. Like, I'm going to get a 12-pack. What was the point of that? Absolutely nothing. Like 300 million calories and a headache.
So you could pass out.
So I could go to, yeah, it's like, dude, I can figure out ways to get to sleep. So yeah, I mean, it just took a toll, and I was just kind of tired of it.
I remember that one show we went to. You weren't so much drinking as you made a mushroom sandwich before we went.
Which show was that?
The Roger Waters show at the Coliseum.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. If we're talking about anything involved with Pink Floyd or Roger Waters, that's for sure. But also, there was that, was it the Coliseum?
Yeah. The LA
No.
Coliseum. Yeah. Roger Waters.
Was
I
one
forgot,
of those...
it's probably like 2013, I'm guessing.
One of
around
those shows made me so fucking mad, dude. Like the people would not, dude. The Wall, Pink Floyd, The Wall is not just an iconic album that we should all be worshiping as a god, but like it changed it changed my brain. Okay, that album. There's too much to go into. Pink Floyd is an amazing band. When you finally, right? No, wait, I'd never had a chance. I saw Pink Floyd without Roger Waters at Soldier Field for the Division Bell tour, but I'd never seen Roger Waters, and I'd never seen The Wall performed in its entirety.
Right.
And people were sitting there. We would stand up, sit down. It's like it was like they were at some cover band thing. I was like. I was so mad at everybody.
Yeah.
At one
You
point,
got
I
angry
know.
that day.
At one point, I know I spilled my beer on somebody, and I was like, "Good, fuck you." And like, it was a similar. Remember when we went to see Van Halen?
Oh God, yeah.
And I was so mad that fucking David Lee Roth sounded like shit. I was so mad. And
well, worse than that was his 5 or his 20-minute like solo performance in the middle with his dogs on film behind him, and he
These
has
are
that like an
sheepdogs.
acoustic guitar.
Here's me by a truck. Here's me wearing overalls. I'm like, dude, if you don't bring Eddie Van Halen back on stage, I'm fucking leaving. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Which I look back at that show like that was the last time I got to see Eddie Van Halen live, so that made it worth it.
The show I saw before that I dragged you to that show because the show I went to before that was so good. The Van Halen show I saw in 2010 had been so good. So I take you to the one in 12, and then I'm like pissed. And then when they come in 2015, I'm like, no, I'm mad at David Lee Roth. And then that was the last time they ever played live.
And I didn't even DD you to that show. We took the LA Metro. down to the Staples Center for that one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we
Yeah.
can't even talk. It doesn't count.
That doesn't count for this.
But at the same time, not only being the sober guy, you're a designated driver, but in a situation like that, you're the designated get me back to where I need to go guy.
Yeah.
Like when we would go to comedy festivals, like Slow, like I mean, remember that? That was the first TB on me walking home from that. If
Yeah,
I was walking
a
by
designated
myself, I would have been in a
walker on
ditch,
it.
man. I'd still be living up there. Like I can't find my way out of here.
You were so hammered because we went to that show, and for people who are listening and don't know, there's the San Luis Obispo Comedy Festival, and then the last show of the festival is at this little bar, and it's called the Poison Show, where you have to get as messed up as you can before you perform. So the whole point is every comic that goes up is just obliterated on whatever they can put in their bodies.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And it's not comedy. The festival is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bagging on the festival.
No, it's a fun festival.
It's a fun festival. People
But that
support
show-
it. They do a lot. But that show, and especially for a guy like me who, at that point, I'd finished my other sets.
Yeah.
So that was like, oh, all I have to do is this be wasted show. So I'll get wasted.
And you take the challenge.
Oh, challenge accepted. And what did I do? I tried to tell. They gave me a 5-minute spot.
Yeah.
I tried to tell a 20-minute story. I tried to tell the Germany story. I start talking about how I shit in an alley, and then I was like, I have to go. And people were like,
What? In the alley.
did I pay for this? What is this? Like, so weird, dude.
And literally, I had to walk you back. We walked through the town of San Luis Obispo. You had to be blacked out. I don't know if you remember any of the walk.
I remember
Probably.
the weave. I remember because I would do this.
You were going in and out of the road. I had to
Yeah.
get you back onto the sidewalk for about a 2.5 mile walk.
Yeah, you wrangled me.
Keeping you out of the road.
It's like wrangling stoned cats.
And that was the first TB on me night. There's a Taco Bell next to the hotel, and we go in and like, you're on TB on me, and you just kept saying it. And then I'm like, all right, whatever. So we get 2 grocery bags full of Taco Bell. We walk back to the hotel room that we're sharing together. Literally, I have my 3 tacos, and the whole time you're just TB on me.
I'm like
TB
laying on the
me.
bed eating like
You're eating saying TB on me.
gluttonous pig.
You're literally covered with Taco Bell.
It's
saying
on me.
TB.
It's on me. TV is on me.
You pass out. You wake up the next morning, just covered. There's just Taco Bell all over the bed.
I mean, hey.
And then we
Guys.
left. We got out. We just like we left. I think there's still one more day of the festival. We're like we're going home.
Tonight, we're like, no, there's no time.
We didn't stick around for the final shows, the best of the fest. We just like we're leaving.
Well, I think at that point we had comedy festivals are wonderful and enraging all at the same time, because for anyone who doesn't know, if you do a comedy festival and you're not a huge name that they're flying in, you have to pay your way there.
Yeah.
And then once you're there, I mean, by nature, we're broke assholes
Yeah.
all the time. Like comics don't. No one does an open mic and they're like, oh, here's $1,000. Like,
And after 4 days of a festival, you're like, I'm done.
especially if you're like me and you're like, dude, I don't want these people to see me again after seeing me yesterday. And like, ugh, I got to get out of here.
I just told everybody I shit, then walked off stage.
Dude, I remember I left one of Nate Craig's 4th of July parties, and it was chaos, And then I remember seeing like 4 or 5 people like 6 months later at the Comedy Store. They're like, "Oh my God, I thought you were dead." I was like, "What?" Like, you just walked off, dude. I hadn't heard from you. I didn't know what happened to you. I was like, okay. But so the Iron Maidens. Oh, I wore.
Oh, dude, I just wore mine the other day. It glows in the dark.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, it does.
Dude, this is how I can tell that cutting out booze has helped me lose weight, because when I first bought this shirt and I put it on, it was like a sausage skin. You know what I mean? Like you could see my nipples.
I can't wear this ever.
Oh, I would wear it under a shirt like this because it would act as a girdle and hold my fat in. So I'm like wearing a skin tight tee underneath. That's like you get the black collar.
So my flannel flows.
So then my flannel flows. You get it?
Yeah, I know.
All right. So clearly there haven't been any like no real major catastrophes in your.
I've never had.
DDing.
No, I've been pulled over 3 times by police while I was DDing. I've been pulled over 3 times by cops and breathalyzed twice.
Oh, because they could smell booze in the car from.
Well, because
everybody else.
we would have the car like there was 3 times it happened. I did it once. This is probably the closest I ever got to being arrested. I was with my buddy Bundy, and he got hammered, and we were leaving a apartment party, whatever. And I was parked in the parking lot. We get in the parking lot, I go to back out the car. My buddy goes, he's hammered. He's blackout drunk. He's like, hold on a second. And I'm like, what? He's like, I got to do something. I'm like, all right. So he gets out of the car. I think he's going to go take a leak or something, right? There's this gazebo behind us. And I'm like, what are you going to do? He's like, I fucking hate gazebos. I'm like, all right. And so
interesting hate.
He gets out of his car and just goes and kicks the shit out of this gazebo. Like 10 minutes just kicking the gazebo to pieces.
In his mind, he was right.
In his mind, absolutely, this is the greatest decision he ever made in his life. I'm like, he gets back in the car. I'm like, are you better now? He's like, yeah, we can go. And I'm like, all right. So I go to back out, and as I'm backing out, I see in the rearview mirror this cop car pulls right behind me and blocks me in. I'm like, oh fuck.
The gazebo police.
The gazebo police. And they're like, and then so I get out of the car, and then my buddy's hammered. He's in this passenger. He gets out of the car. They start asking me all the questions because I'm the driver. I'm the responsible one. So he's like, what are you doing here?
You let your
I was
friend
just
out
driving
of the
my buddy home. He's like, okay. And my buddy the whole time is like, hey, it was me. I beat up the gazebo. I'm the one. He doesn't drink. And they're like not paying attention to him. He's the town idiot.
That is so interesting. Yeah.
And they're after me. They have me in the fucking zip tie cuffs. I'm like this about my car. I'm like, look, I'm just driving. He got out of the car. I didn't do anything. I was just driving him home. He's like, okay, all right. And like, blow this breathalyzer. So I blow it. It blows 0.0. I'm like, I told you, I'm not drinking. He's the drunk one. And my buddy's just screaming,
yelling,
I'm the drunk one.
Clearly hammered.
And so I blow it again, and it's still 0. And the cop is pissed because I keep blowing 0 because he wants to nail me.
Positive you're drunk.
He wants to nail me. And I'm like, dude, I'm the DD here. He got out. He did that. My buddy's like, I beat up the gazebo. It was me. And so like that was probably the closest I got to being arrested. And there's 2 other times where I'm literally driving my buddies out of a parking lot of a bar. And there's like 4 of us in the car, and the cops were just waiting there to pick up drunk drivers.
You looked like a crowd, a car.
So they pulled me over, and I blow, and then they're like, and they're pissed every time. It's not like, oh, thank God, there's a safe designated driver here. Dude, they don't say that.
They don't thank you. They don't say, hey man, you're doing a good thing here.
No,
thank you.
They don't. They're like they're pissed because you're not blowing.
It's because it's a fucking bullshit thing, dude. It's a bullshit fucking.
Yeah. Which that always pissed me off. I'm like, you should be happy I'm doing this. And they sit there and they act pissed because they can't pinch me for a DUI.
Yeah, dude. My brother, we were coming back from my cousin's wedding years ago in California, and my brother was driving, and I had booze for breakfast or whatever. It was like a mimosa brunch or something. So I'm hammered in the car on the way home. And my brother gets pulled over, and the same thing. Like, he's out, and this guy, because he can smell booze in the car because I'm literally sweating booze. And he's like, dude, this guy's name was Officer Rigby. So I kept saying, like, in my head, I'm like, Officer Rigby. And I was hanging out the passenger side. He's got my brother doing, like, nose, like, touch your nose and lift your foot up. And then I'm like hanging out the passenger window going, hey, he's not, I'm drinking. I'm the guy you can smell. And he would go, sir, get back in the car. He ignored me.
They don't care. They don't care. Which I get that they want to make sure the guy driving isn't drinking. I get that.
Yes.
And you can be hard on the driver going, I just got to make sure you're not, I can't put you back behind the wheel if you've had anything in you. I get that. But once they find out you've blown 0.0 and passed all the tests, they should go, hey, bud, you're doing a good thing here. Appreciate it. But they don't. They storm off pissed because they can't put you in their squad car.
Yeah, dude. It's insane. But so you've never actually been arrested because I don't know if this is a thing, but I heard that they're making laws where you can get a DUI for driving someone who's drunk. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like giving someone a DUI on a bicycle. It's like
you're trying to get rid of a DUI. Oh, wait, are they saying they can give the passenger who's drunk a DUI for being drunk in the car? Or the actual driver a DUI?
No, they're trying to. They can cite the driver. It was years ago that someone was like, no, they can cite that, and I was like, dude, I'd never heard of that. So
that's insane. I hope that's not true. That's insane.
It is insane. I hope that's not true too. I don't even know why I said it. I just put weird fear into people now, and I'm not driving you around. I could get in trouble. Like, no.
If I'm going to get in trouble, I might as well be drunk.
I don't even know. I don't have any proof. I don't have any websites to look at. I'm just like, I think I heard once. Some drunk asshole said to me, and I'm repeating it like it's fact.
A lot of people told me.
Dude. Well, dude, this has been great, man. I mean, other than promoting more Iron Maidens shows and minor league baseball.
It's not. I miss hanging out with you. It's been so long since we hung out at the store, the Improv, and it sucks.
even on those nights when it was just like we show up with the improv, like sit
There's
there,
no
have a
one
glass
there.
of water, look around, and go, I'm gonna go home. Like it's just even I miss that. You know what I mean?
I missed that. That 20
miss-
minutes of just being out of the house was nice.
Walking in, seeing who's there, going and then
Which was 90% of the time going to the improv.
But now I'm going to embrace all that shit so much. Every fucking person I've been like, get away from me. I'm gonna be like, come here, come here, give me a hug.
Yeah.
But well, thanks.
miss
Is there anything we could plug for you? I don't know when this is going to come out, but I mean, you got the Ralph Report. Your
I'm
special.
on the Ralph Report on Patreon.com 5 days a week, and we have the Ramble. You get it wherever you get your podcast. That's basically 4 days a week. And then my comedy special right now is streaming free for Amazon Prime members, and you can also buy it on Amazon or iTunes or anywhere you buy videos.
Awesome, dude.
So,
that is awesome. Well, congratulations
out.
on that, dude. Pumped.
Thanks.
That's great,
Thanks.
man. All right, buddy. Thanks so much for taking the time, and
It's good talk. It's good talking. Good old times. I miss it.
yeah, let Eddie serve as example to anybody who might not be drinking or like drinking and have friends that are disgusting like me, and then
Find someone that makes you laugh.
Look,
and you
without-
can be a DD. You can have a great time, and you can have all the memories.
yes, you are the holder of the memories. Like, let's just say, guys like you are going to be prominent at my funeral. You know what I mean? It's like we got guys who
I'll be
remember.
giving a lot of eulogies.
Dude. For sure. And please mention Taco Bell. And
Oh, absolutely.
once I'm gone, give them my best.
They'll be catering your funeral.
Perfect. Put it in my casket.
One final TB on him.
Just the grass over my grave just never gets green. It's always brown.
Instead of people throwing dirt on your casket, they're just chucking soft tacos.
Cheesy gordita. Oh, you big spender. Just kidding, everybody. I'm going to be cremated, so put it in the thing that I get burned so the ashes get in there, too, and I have a nice flavor, a nice scent. All right, Eddie, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, John.
Take
My
it easy,
pleasure.
buddy. Yeah.
All right.
Late.
Bye.
Bye. You leave.
No, do I leave? All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Dude, that was hilarious. The TB on me, that
Dude.
was so. I literally fucking almost fell to the floor laughing. On that.
Dude, I am so annoying. I mean, I literally I remember swerving out into the road, him going, dude, get the fuck over here. Like, he's like dealing with a child, you know? It was just so funny. But yeah, I mean, and honestly, like, he's a good guy. And I like what he said about, like, he finds one guy who sort of makes him laugh, and it makes the whole experience okay, because sometimes when you're not drinking and you're around people that are just obliterated, it can be very unfun.
Yeah,
you know?
I've definitely been that guy. Like, you could tell, like, it's that kind of persona, you know, transcends all. Like, whether they're drunk or not, it's like whether they're a good person who, like, is having a fun time, because that's what, you know, he's a comic. You're comics, you know, like, it's not necessarily like, yeah, this is an opportunity for material, but like, this is fun. You know, this is something to remember or to talk, you know, like, and it's not for material, but it's like, it's rich, right?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and I think it's kind of like, I think I heard Doug Stanhope say this, but I think the quote was something like, whoever dies with the most stories wins, or whoever dies with the best stories wins. It's like, you know, by not holding back on stuff like that, like, luckily I'm still alive, but like I laugh with Eddie about that shit all the time. That's why I wanted to, this episode was so easy to even consider, because he's never drank. He's been giving people rides forever, and like, I'm just one chapter in that bizarre history of like lunatics that have been in his, and he's still got that car. That 94 Mustang is in his garage, buried under boxes right now. It doesn't run, but like, it's just so funny that he's still got it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think anybody who, I just hope that is a little bit of a motivating factor, because back in the day, like, I would never want to be the designated driver. Like, I'm like, no, dude, I want to party, I want to have fun, and like, that just wasn't fun. But it's not that it's not fun; it's just that it's a different fun. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I encourage
Well, it's relative.
anybody
It's relative. Like he was saying, you know, he was a homebody. You know, it's And I was way more like that too. Like, yeah, like you were mentioning, I'm the weed guy, but mostly I was just a video game, playing guitar, jamming. like my friends were the type A, let's go get hammered type, so like I definitely relate to Eddie in that regard, so it's and he's just so effortlessly hilarious.
Dude,
it's so funny to hear you guys talk. It's like
it's good. He's
store with you guys. It's great.
He's a good ball buster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always have that good friend to kind of put you in your place where like if I wake up and I'm like, oh man, we had a good time. He's like, well, here's some dumb shit you did. You know what I mean? He'll let you know. But like he said, I never tried to fight him. I never tried, There are guys in high school who are friends of mine still to this day who are like, every time I get drunk, I'd be like, let's wrestle. And they'd be like, get away from me, dude. Weirdo. But yeah, man. I don't have too much. Eddie, like I said, check Eddie out on the Ralph Report and The Ramble with Jerry Rocha, who's also a very funny comedian.
Yeah, links in the description. Check Eddie out.
Up. Yeah, man. But that was our episode on designated drivers.
Woo!
Yeah, thank you guys for listening and watching. And sorry about my zit. And we'll try to rectify that. Get it taken care of.
Until next week, y'all.
Later, guys.